Care to chat? Hello and welcome to this episode of the Northern Ireland Social Care Council's popular podcast, Care to Chat. I'm Wendy Austin and it's my great pleasure to host this series, hearing the stories of social workers and social care staff, hearing too about the different aspects of the jobs they're doing, right through from working with children and families to the criminal justice system or helping service users deal with loneliness. Of course, social work and social care can also be great careers, as I've learned from these podcasts. Whenever you choose to enter the profession or wherever you start, well, you never really know where you might end up. And that's the case for my guest in this episode. Kerry Mallon is Director of Operations, Republic of Ireland for the charity Positive Futures. She started by doing a psychology degree at Ulster University. And what happened then? Well, that's what we're going to find out. Kerry, what did happen next?
Well, what happened next was I didn't really know what was going to happen next. I had no idea. So I'd finished my degree and I'd really enjoyed my degree and enjoyed being in Belfast and living the student life. And then I went home and decided to take a bit of time just to figure out what I was going to do next. A lot of my peers were planning on going back to college and doing masters and things like that, but I really didn't know what I wanted to do. So I seen an ad for Positive Futures and I applied, and it was for a support worker position. So I was successful in that and I decided to give it a go, really. But I wasn't planning on a full-on career. It was just, let's say, get some experience with working with different kinds of people and get to know people and really figure out what I wanted. But I suppose from day one, I knew that was it. I knew I really wanted to be there. I knew that was what I wanted to do. Now, I didn't fully expect 20 years later I still would be with the same company. But I just really, really enjoyed supporting people. And I hadn't realised before working with Positive Futures, and we should explain the Positive Futures support people with a learning disability, autism and acquired brain injury. So I didn't realise just how difficult life could be for somebody with a disability and how low expectations that they have for their own lives. So I just had a ball basically going in and being a support worker and helping them to just live their ordinary life the way that other people just take for granted. So I had a lot of encouragement from my colleagues and my line managers at the time. And they encouraged me to go for different roles throughout the years and gain different experiences. So as I say, I started in our OMA service, Sperrin, as a support worker. And then I went on to be a senior support worker and then eventually went to our Lakeland service in Enniskillen as a deputy service manager and then on to being a service manager.
Well, we'll pick up on those later bits in a moment. Just to take you back to that first job as a support worker in Omagh, which was basically your hometown where you went back home to. What does that entail and what kind of what qualifications did you have for that, or did you have to acquire to do that?
Yeah, well, for that role, and it's still the same now, you need to have experience working with people. And not necessarily paid experience. It can be through volunteering, and that's what I had. So I had volunteered with our local Gateway Club that supports people to have social and recreational activities together. And so I had that experience going in. I had my degree, but I didn't need my degree for the support worker job. So I had experience, and I suppose I had enthusiasm and motivation just to want to work with people. I didn't want to go back into the classroom and do all that again. I wanted to be out and I wanted to be out and about, and that's what that role really, a lot of it is, going out, and it's your everyday life. So things that we would take for granted that seem so easy for us. If we want to go to the shop, we just jump in the car and we go to the shop. But for other people, that might have maybe 10 steps before they actually are able to get out and go to the shop, and they need that extra little bit of help from other people. And that's the kind of things that I did. So as well as that, it's supporting people with their confidence, personal care as well, medication administration, helping people with their finances. So all of those practical everyday tasks that you need in life, that's what we were there to do and to support people. The people I supported, it is very important to Positive Futures that people lived in their own homes within the community. And I suppose that's what's kept me in Positive Futures, because that's what first excited me, was that it was so ordinary. But what we were doing was helping people have those extraordinary lives then that I was taking for granted. So for me, it was a job. But I had to be really careful to make sure that I understood it's my job. This is somebody's life. And it's about people opening up their whole lives to you. And I suppose I did have a bit of trepidation going into that, being in my hometown. I would have known some of the people that I was going in to support. And I was unsure of how they would take me coming into their lives. Because being a support worker, you're there at really personal times in people's lives. You're there for all the great times, which is wonderful, but you're also there for all the sadder times, the difficult and the challenging times for people. And that's what I wasn't sure that I was going to be accepted in. But I suppose Positive Futures really gave me a good induction and helped me to ease in gently into people's lives and helped me to get the confidence as well that I needed. I was straight out of college. I had worked in shops and things like that, but I hadn't been out in terms of, a job like this that other people were really dependent on me and really relying on me. So I was given a lot of coaching and mentoring around that, and I needed it. I really did. Plus the people that I support, I found the fears that I had, would they accept me in there? They were a lot more forgiving than I gave them credit for at the beginning, and they really opened up their lives to me. And I suppose that has to be seen as a very important role and a privilege for support workers and people in health and social care. The day that you start thinking, well, this is a job, is the day that you need to hang up the coat at that point, because this isn't just a job, it's people's lives, and they're asking you to come in there and experience that with them. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. And that encouragement, I got to go on for different roles as I went and got different roles and went up in different levels in the organisation. My big fear was, am I going to lose that? Because that's the part of the job that I really, really loved and it excited me. And as you're in longer in a company, I suppose it does then more paperwork becomes involved. But for me, I've been very lucky. I've always been able to have that experience of making the job my own. I've been able to say, right, okay, it's enough of that paperwork. I need to get out again. I need to, because the more you're in an office and the more paperwork you do, you need to get out and experience, well, why are you here? What's the paperwork for? What are you doing this for? So that's what's kept me, I suppose, excited about my role and excited about still being in health and social care, experiencing the real lives of people.
What was it, Kerry, that made a difference to really kind of spur you on your career journey? I mean, you talked about the mentoring and the encouragement that you had. Did you have extra training as well? Because I mean, we're moving into a number of roles that required maybe a different skill set.
Absolutely. I suppose whenever I started 20 years ago, it was a very different environment with different approaches that we were using. So we had to move with the times. We had to understand and learn from how we were supporting people and improve on that and really look at, well, what is the right approach here? Positive Futures went through a huge transformation to ensure that we are truly person-centred. And that was a huge turning point for me. I just got that. It really was in line with the values that I have. It should be about individuals. It shouldn't be about groups of people who the one thing they have in common is maybe a disability, and then everybody's expected then to get along and maybe go to day centres or live together, whereas really the approach we were using was, well, who are you as a person? what do you want out of life? What's your hopes and dreams? And what do you want from us? What's your expectations? So we really transformed into a service that is developed around individuals. And for that, there obviously was a lot of changes we had to make. There was a lot of training that staff teams had to have, including myself. So we went through a lot of training, a lot of coaching and mentoring from our paperwork, our policies, and just our general approach about how we supported people. But as well as that, for then the role I got as manager, or QIA, became involved in there. People who come out and to regulate and to inspect services to make sure that we're delivering high quality services. So for that, I had to complete my QCF level 5 in management in health and social care. And I suppose that was daunting. That was a good 10 years after I had finished college and had been excited about, this is practical now, this is out in the real world, and I love that. And now to be told that I have to go back to school basically and do another course was really daunting. But it was actually delivered in a way that suited individuals. I enjoy getting out there and doing. So my tutor for that, a lot of the work that how she assessed me was coming out and actually observing my practice in real life, and she just wrote those up, and that was how I gained a large part of that qualification. Of course, there was the report writing and the essays as well. You can't get away from that, but it was really delivered to suit how I needed to learn and to suit my needs. So there's been a lot of ongoing training, a lot of mentoring and coaching for people who have really showed me the vision of positive futures and how we should treat people and just how we do the job. And hopefully then I'm seeing myself as when other people are coming into positive futures, I'm doing the same. Not even just in positive futures, just in your everyday life, about showing respect and how we value everybody in the community has been something that's been really important for me.
I mean, the whole business of continuous learning is, 20 years ago, if someone said continuous learning, you thought, oh, blimey, no, this is going to go on forever. But it's a different thing now, isn't it? It is keeping your skills up. It is keeping on top of things and learning new ways of working and sharing that with colleagues as well. And I know you're a big fan of it.
Absolutely. And I suppose even learning from previous experiences and what people used to do, like 10 years ago, we weren't talking about restrictive practices as much as what we are now, and quite rightly so. They're so important. But if you had looked at any of our paperwork many years ago, none of that would have been in there. So that continuous learning is so important because we're continuously figuring out how to do things better and learning from the people we support as well. So we'd have a lot of groups where we would go and consult with people and just ask, how are we doing? Are we getting it right for you, or what can we do better? The continuous learning has been really important for me. If I was still the same person I was 20 years ago, I wouldn't be delivering a quality service. We've had to move with the times, and that's kept it interesting for me as well.
From what you said, whenever you started as a support worker in OMA, a lot of what you were doing was, as you say, was practical and actually required common sense and a bit of wit, really, didn't it? Yep. Your sector and so many sectors now have such problems attracting new people, new talent, and again, getting the skills that they require. To what extent is that a challenge for you and for Positive Futures?
Recruitment is a huge challenge, and I suppose it has been a huge challenge for a number of years now. We're trying to be as creative as we can. One of the things is me being here today explaining what the job is. There can be an attitude to health and social care that it's maybe poorly paid and maybe not a job that you want to go into, that you can have a career. So part of today is about me explaining getting rid of that myth that health and social care is it's an excellent job with excellent prospects. Yes, you do, for a support worker role, as you say, you need to have a bit of wit about you. But you can learn on the job as well, and you're working alongside people. I've never felt alone. A lot of the work can be lone working, but we're all part of a team, and the people around me have really helped me to understand that. And people who would have inducted me years ago are still working in the organisation today, and we still laugh and joke about, oh, do you remember the time? And everybody makes mistakes and everybody needs to learn. And in health and social care, I think that's an environment where it's actually really welcomed, that people can come in and we'll support you and we'll help you through. And it's not an easy job by any means. It can be incredibly challenging, but through every challenge, you are really well supported. And you're given a lot of supervision, a lot of great communication. So it's a really supportive role. You're going in to be a support worker, but you also receive a lot of support from the people around you as well.
What is it that keeps you excited about it all, Kerry? I mean, for you still to be working in social care now as a senior manager, why have you stayed in the sector?
I think it's because there's still a lot of work to be done. Recently, I had a person referred to me, a young man who is living in hospital, and he's not sick. He has a disability and he needs a little bit of help to live his life in the community, but there was nowhere else for him to go. So at this point in time, he is living in a hospital with 40 odd other people on the ward with him. And I've went down and I've met with him to do an assessment and to see, can we provide the support that he needs and to see what he wants from us. And at that point, it's been really humbling to hear yet again the low expectations he has for life. And when I ask him, what can we do for you? What do you want from us? The look of shock about, no, are you not interviewing me for this? Am I good enough? So he's just said really basic things about, I want to have a house where I can have a TV and I can watch Leeds United play. And for us, that's just so basic and simple, that somebody would have their own space to watch their beloved sporting team. Whereas for him, he explained, Coronation Street always wins out. He doesn't get a look in. Now, if there's a Man United match, absolutely watch football. But for his Leeds United, it needs to be so well planned in advance. And he just wants that. So for me, that's what keeps me interested, because the day that I walk into his house and he's sitting on his sofa watching that with a pint in his hand, that's what keeps me interested. There's still so much to do. That seems so basic. But for him, when I was chatting to him and he told me that's just what he wanted, and his only dream that he could tell me was, well, imagine if I got to go over to Leeds to watch them play and they weren't on TV, that I was there. And I watched them then walk back to the ward thinking, oh, this is awful. I just want this to happen now for him. So that's what keeps me going, because I know we can support him and I know that we will be, and I know that he is going to get to Leeds. And if that's the only thing that I ever do again, that's all worth it. And that's what keeps me excited. That's the things that we do.
What about the perceptions that you mentioned earlier on in our chat, that people have ideas about social care that are unhelpful, shall we say? What about those perceptions of social care and social care workers that you think need corrected, and how do... I mean, I know this is a part of our conversation today and many of the other conversations that we've had on different podcasts, but how do you go about changing that mindset, I wonder?
It's just through everyday conversations as well. It's like whenever anybody asks me what I do, and I say I work in health and social care and I support people with learning disabilities and autism, sometimes what you hear is, oh, aren't you so good? And, oh, I couldn't do that. And it's about not letting that comment pass, without challenging it and saying, well, actually, I'm not that good. And this is what I actually do in my working life. It's not that difficult. There are challenging times, yes, but this is what I actually do. I'm no martyr by any means. And I suppose that's the challenge about helping people to understand what the work is like and to turn it around a bit as well, because people can say, oh, aren't you so good as a staff member? It's the person we're supporting is really good to let us in. Usually when we get around to supporting people, they've been let down over and over again by people. And for them to be able to continue to say, okay, I'll give you a chance, let's see, is unbelievable. They're the ones that we should be going, I'd love to work with you. I'd love to work in health and social care. That's the challenge that I see about changing that view around from, oh, aren't you so good, to, no, actually, this is a great place to work in. It's a great career and more people should be doing it. Because it is a career. It's not just a job that you go in and you can leave at the door and go home to. It's a way of life, and it has to be that personal for it to be as worthwhile as what it is.
You say more people should be doing it. So what would you say to someone who maybe is thinking of social care as a career, who's seen some of the adverts at the moment or read some of the stories that have been around? How would you encourage them?
Well, there's lots of adverts at the minute because everybody's recruiting at the minute. So for me, I was very lucky. As we said earlier, I kind of fell into this. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I am very clear when talking to people who are having a little bit of an interest. I explain to them what the job's like on a day-to-day basis. I also explain how flexible working in health and social care can be. We work with people, so it's not 9 to 5, and that actually suits a lot of people. We can be really flexible in the times that we're working, when we're working, and really we can fit in with family life. And I think that's what people look for now, is how can work fit into my life. It used to be Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, that is your job. Whereas now people are more focused on, right, my life comes first, and quite rightly, and how can work fit into that. And health and social care is a job that can be that flexible to fit in with your life. So I really encourage people to become involved. I'm a walking, talking tribute to it, that I fell into it 20 years ago. I didn't expect to stay there. And yet I'm still here. I still have all the motivation that I had 20 years ago. And that's because it's a great camaraderie, I think, within health and social care. We have good teamwork. We're all there for the same reason, and we're there together.
So I've decided, I'm convinced by you. I've decided that I'm going to go into social care. How do I know that I'm not going to just get stuck doing the same thing forever?
Mm-hmm. It depends on who you are and what you want, because I could still be in OMA working as a support worker and I'd still be very happy doing that. It depends on your motivation and what you see and what you want to get out of the job as well. And I wanted to get more. I seen that I could maybe influence more if I got a different job. So when as a support worker, I could influence what I was doing day to day. But then when I became a deputy manager and then a manager, I could influence a whole team of people about their approach and their values and what they hold dear to them. So for me, I was able to have really great mentors. And it is something in health and social care that I've experienced, that I have had great mentors along the way who have been very open and honest with me, because I'm not going to sit here today and say it's all flowers and rainbows and smiles. There are very challenging times when you work in health and social care, and it can be very difficult. And those are the times that you do need to rely on other people around you to lift you up and to bolster you. But if you have the motivation and you're willing to learn and to learn from others, you will progress further.
Tell me about what you're doing now. Director of Operations, Republic of Ireland, for Positive Futures. How's that going?
Again, it's an exciting role. It's quite new to me, but I think it's wearing off now. I'm only going to be able to say I'm new for another few weeks. I got the position in November. So Positive Futures are well established in Northern Ireland, and we decided about 6 years ago maybe that we would start to see, is there an appetite in the Republic of Ireland for the type of services that we run, our approach. Was there an appetite for that? And we realised that absolutely there was more than an appetite for it. It's, people were telling us when they came to interview, this is what we've been waiting for. This is exactly what we want. So we have changed. In the Republic of Ireland, it would have been a very medical model of support, and we have been a bit radical in saying it's about the individual and it's about what the individual wants for their life. So we have opened up services across the island of Ireland. We do support people with additional needs and behaviours of concern. And it's quite challenging, I have to say, because a lot of the people we support have maybe been in the hospital environment for many years, and then supporting people to adjust to life out in the community, and even adjust to having your own house and being able to not have to go to a canteen to get dinner, that actually there's a kitchen there and you can choose on the day whether you want something or not. You don't have to have a menu plan that's been there for 2 weeks sitting there. So that's what we're doing in the Republic of Ireland. We're supporting people. The young man that I was talking to you about earlier, he's been in hospital for quite a while. So the support that we're going to be providing to him is very individual. And we're just growing all the time. There is a huge appetite for our type of service. People, funnily enough, want to live their lives the way they want to live them. They don't want me coming down and saying, well, here we are, you fit into our service. This is their life. So it's going really well and it's exciting. So I'm able as a director to have a lot more conversations with people about our approaches and really promote and advertise our services and help people to understand this is the respect we should be showing to people, that we're actually asking them, what do you want from us?
And what's next for you?
What's next for me? Quite early still into the director role, very happy in it, and the organisation in the Republic of Ireland is needs a lot of growth. And that's what we're focusing on. We really want to grow our services, see the amount of people in Northern Ireland that we provide support to. And so career-wise, I really want to see it, our services in the Republic of Ireland really taking off and growing a lot more. Me personally, I still have that huge drive and motivation to support more people. And as well as that, not just the people we support, but staff. Because I see a lot of people coming in now that maybe were the same as me, just not quite sure. And helping them by saying, I was the same as you, I didn't know either. And you mightn't know in 2 years' time either, and that's okay. So again, it's just about, I'm very much a people person, so it's about making sure that the people that are working for Positive Futures are as happy as the people that they're supporting.
It's been terrific to hear your story. Kerry, thank you so much for letting us into your life.
Thank you.
In the way that you've been talking about the people that you work with too, and for showing us just how a career can progress in social care. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this podcast. You can find all the episodes on the Northern Ireland Social Care Council website, or indeed wherever you get your podcasts. Do remember to subscribe, to rate us, and tell everyone that you know and everyone you work with. Thanks for listening.